Hello everyone, today I'm gonna show a hybrid build that is very simple. There's nothing crazy about it. It is very ordinary and easy to make. There's nothing special about it. It happened, I did this build so I can do heroic missions solo, just easy. Right, I'm gonna show more details later, I'm gonna show everything later. I'm not trying to convince you that this is the new meta build. I'm not trying to say that this is the best thing in the universe. This is just a build that I like to call as human decoy. I just run around like crazy and nothing bothers me. I just take a lot of time to die and I take a lot of time to kill you. But what mostly matters is that I'm always on the front and letting my friends do the damage for me, right? On solo heroic, the damage is pretty good. It's pretty good and you can do any solo heroic just fine with this build, but in 4 people it won't reach the high damage, right? Anyway, this video right here is old. I didn't record recently me playing with this build, so this is an older version with Unbreakable. I don't use Unbreakable anymore. It had less damage than now. It was not as fully optimized as now, but you can still see how the build kind of is, right? I really like playing this. Sometimes it's even boring because of how easy it is to play with it. There's nothing crazy to do. It's just like shooting people, but you have more protection and that's pretty much it. Nothing that crazy, but it's gonna be really useful for you to start doing heroic missions solo. So let's see the build, right? So I'm using the exotic mask for damage, for the critical damage and critical chance, of course. But the most important part of this build is the following. I have 3 blues. These 3 blues make me survive a lot more. However, a lot of players keep saying, oh, but 3 blues is not good enough, blah blah blah. You know, like, oh, you died extremely fast. Dude, I have a shield. I have a freaking shield. So I don't have only 1.3 million armor. I have way more. I have 2 million, almost 3 million extra armor here with the shield. Right? So you won't be using this shield in the open, killing people. You're gonna use the shield to protect yourself for a few seconds so you can go back to cover. So let's say you wanna go to the cover to the other side. You use the shield. Oops, where is the shield? You're gonna use the shield, right? You move and then you go back to cover, right? This is what you need to do. You also need to like hide behind a wall like this and shoot. And you go back to the wall and then shoot again, right? Otherwise your shield is gonna break. If you just stay here shooting enemies, your shield is gonna break in seconds. So you're not supposed to stay in the open with the shield, right? So the 3 armor is really good, right? I also have armor regen on 3 pieces, right? So I have a total of around 13, almost 14,000 armor regen. So 140,000 armor regen 10 seconds, which is good, but not the best thing in the world, but it's good, right? So I also have a GS for the critical damage, and I have the Petrov for the damage to armor because I like LMGs, right? The build is just some blues, reds for critical damage, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing crazy about the build. Something else that I really like is Bloodsucker for extra armor, right? So I kill some enemies and I gain some armor from them, right? I just keep killing enemies and I'm gonna get some extra armor for myself. It is really good. I'm also using Preservation. It is gonna give me 10% armor over 5 seconds. And if it is a headshot, I'm actually gonna get 20% armor during 5 seconds. So that's also amazing. But one thing that makes this build really good is the incoming repair as a modificator, right? I can use these mods for incoming repair. I have 2 mods, so it's almost 40% armor regen. This means that I'm not gaining 10% repair from this skill. I'm getting way more because of the incoming repair. So I use my MG5 for damage, and if I need some armor, I go to the assault rifle and I kill the enemy, and I get some armor for myself. I can regen my HP. This is really good when playing solo because you have enough damage to kill enemies. Look at this, right? Let's see an elite enemy with this exactly build with my MG5. On the chest, right? As you can see, it doesn't take that long to kill an enemy. Right? It's not that fast, but it is enough time to kill enemies, especially solo because you have just a few enemies to fight instead of multiple enemies. So it is enough damage to kill enemies, and you also recover your HP all the time. You have some armor regeneration in your build for that too. That's pretty much it. The build is very simple. I use Obliterate because I want to have some extra damage, right? So Obliterate really goes well with me, right? I have only 35 critical hit chance and 130 critical damage. Let me see if the weapon is correct here. Yeah, it is correct. So the critical chances is kind of low, but it's not bad with the mask. The mask gives you more critical chance, so that's why it doesn't bother me. I use fast hands, as you saw here. Fast hands, the more critical hits I land, the faster I reload. So my reload speed is pretty good. It's really fast. So nothing extraordinary about this build. Use the shield for protection. Use armor regen. Steal armor from enemies from the class because the class gives you 10%, right? Let me show you. I'm using Gunner because I gain some armor back when I kill enemies. Let me see. Yeah, 10% armor when killing enemies, and with Preservation the number is even higher, so it's really good to use Preservation. And one last thing from this build is actually the Banshee. The Banshee only has a 18 seconds of cooldown for me, and it lasts for 5.5 seconds. You're gonna use this when you are in danger, when you wanna crowd control enemies, when you wanna stun them for a few seconds. So enemies are getting closer to you, you just do this and you run away from them and go to another cover, or you use this to hit enemies, right? So anyway, this is a very basic build. The grenade is also gonna help, right? To block some enemies. Crowd control. But again, yeah, not the best build in the world and not that amazing. It's really simple to do. This is one of the first builds that I did in the game. This was made in the first week the Warlords of New York was released, and the reason why I did this is because I couldn't beat heroics, actually not heroics at the time, probably challenging or hard. I couldn't do challenging or hard on the first week, and I would just die pretty fast. So I came up with a hybrid build right from the get-go, and suddenly I could do so many missions, right? And as time moved on, for heroic, this was going extremely well. It makes missions really easy. You kill enemies fast enough, and you also have protection, and it makes the situation much easier for me, because I can't use full reds and beat missions. It's very rare for me to accomplish that. That's why I like this build. It is really good for solo. When you are with other players, the damage is really low, right? And it takes forever for you to kill enemies. But I still use this build at New York at some missions, because I turn into a human decoy, which I really like. I run in the middle of the enemies. I'm not kidding. Like, I run in the middle of the enemies and just distract them, and then I go to a cover and then I shoot them like this, and my friends just keep killing them, and I change cover. And you could say, why aren't you using a tank build? Well, I could be, but I also do some damage. Just for you to have an idea, many times that I play these New York missions from the Rikers, right? I often get first place of damage even with this build, not because the other players are bad or their builds suck. It's the opposite. They are good players and their build is good. It's just because I advance a lot and I just go front on front with the enemies, and I'm constantly shooting them because I regen my armor. So it's not because I have less damage that I'm gonna deal less damage, right? If I can stand here shooting an enemy without dying, I'm gonna shoot the enemy more. But if I can do only things like and go back to cover. Oh, now I can shoot. Right? I could play like this, full red. It's dead. Dead, right? You could do this, but no, with me it's like I'm just here shooting enemies, and I pick my shield and I shoot more. Go back to cover, shoot again, take my shield, shoot again. I'm constantly shooting. I do Banshee on them, right? So my damage is not as bad as you think for 4 players. But yeah, you can do better with 4 players. You could use something better for 4 players than this. This is better for solo, right? Anyway, this is pretty much the idea of the build. You can always change this according to your weapons. You can choose any weapon you want. You don't need to use the exactly same weapons. Just use whatever you like.